So we're started. I think it was around Mother's Day we started this series on priorities, and the idea is that if we can get ourselves, if we can get our priorities in order, we can become more powerful people, and we shouldn't really shy away from that. It's a very powerful thing to be a human being, and it's not something you should shy away from, but something you should take seriously and take responsibility for how powerful you are. I guess when you think about it, that's something. You have the power to do a lot of things. And maybe instead of us pouting too much, we should acknowledge how powerful God's made us and lean into it. You know, God created, and then he said he made humans in his image. That's pretty powerful stuff. And if we get our priorities together, then we can be powerful instead of pathetic, which would be a good thing. And so I want to share a couple of stories, but I want to start with a scripture. We've used, from the Old Testament, the first commandment, have no other gods before me, right? So God's first. And we've talked from the New Testament about seek first priority, the kingdom of God. But I wanted to go to Jesus' words because this is so important. Again, very common, but I want to read Matthew 22. This person comes to Jesus, he says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus replies, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and what? Greatest." You have a sense of priority here. You have a sense like of all the things that God wants you to do, this would be first greatest. This is the highest priority, to love God. And we have, of course, used this over the years at Orchard Grove to help people understand the simplicity of what it's about. The simplicity. It's about loving God. And that's wonderful, and it's very freeing for a lot of people. That's what it's about. It's about loving God. Maybe not the minutia of all these other things. But before we just do this and say, yeah, I went to Orchard Grove, and they said, it's just, all I got to do is love God. So therefore, check. Are you with me? Therefore, I do that. So let's get on with my life. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. So we need to test it out and see if we really do, instead of just giving ourselves the check mark. Now, can you say you love God? Sure. But that's not the same as loving him. If I were to test whether or not you were, let's say, 20 years old and came home and, all of a sudden, you used to communicate a lot, and all of a sudden, you're a 20-year-old boy, you used to call home a lot, and all of a sudden you don't call home as much, and then we can't find you as much, and hey, we know you're busy doing something. Say, do you have a girlfriend? No. What are you talking about? I don't have a girlfriend. It's just, I don't know, we just don't hear from you does anybody know where this is going? Now, how would I test? I can tell you there's just two tests I can tell you if you're in love. I can tell you just like this. All you need to say is your credit card bill, right? And your cell phone. That's all I need. Where are you spending your time and where are you spending your? I know. Oh, no. Well, I call her 6 times a day. Sure. And, I guess I've spent all of my money taking her places to eat, but I don't love her. And on the other hand, you could say, well, I love God. And I look through your calendar, and I look through your checkbook, it's easy to say you love God. And there's other markers. But it's simple to tell what you love. And so before we just give ourselves the pass and say, well, of course I love God, and so therefore let's get on with what I want to do with my life. What a lot of people like to do with this thought is they like to make it very simple and easy. And by the way, this is so beautiful. When you do put God at the highest place in your life, when you really put God there, everything else finds its proper place in your life. It's the big first. And I talked about it last week a little bit. I think the big takeaway from last Sunday was going to Starbucks is a sin. And that's not exactly what I was trying to say. So if that's what you took away, I'm sorry. You rewatch it, try to get the gist. That was an example. I was trying to say, don't throw away, don't despise your future by prioritizing the intensity of the pressing moment. But do we prioritize? And how does it work? I mean, a week ago we had the daddy-daughter dance, and so the one thing that you learn about how these things go is if you're the dad, it's fine when they need you, but basically you're like a chauffeur to get them there to hang out with their friends. And then once they get there, you are not needed. Is everybody with me? So you go there with all these grandiose ideas about how this is going to be so sweet and one of bonding time. And by the time they get through the door, they're sprinting to look for their friends. You are a nobody. And then if they happen to get hurt, like let's say it's too much dancing and someone cocks them in the eye, which happened to a 6-year-old I know, then all of a sudden, Daddy, where are you? Is everybody with me? Life is like a daddy-daughter dance. Thanks God for the ride. I'm close. Thanks for the ride to planet Earth. I got it from here. I got it here. Then you get hurt. All of a sudden, what? Where's Dad? Huh? Where's God? Now, I wish I could say I was above or immune to this human thinking, but the reality is it's a part of all of us, pastors included. I mean, when the chips are down, we really get to talking to God. This week, Charlie graduated from kindergarten, and so we went, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, but, it's a nothing burger. Well, it's everything to her, but it's like a nothing burger. It's like you're there for 20 minutes, and then they all go back to class, right? And so you leave and you go to work, and she had her little cap and gown, and she's graduated from kindergarten, and that's good. And she decided to celebrate by throwing up all over her classroom, right? So they call us, we go back there, pick her up, and she spends, a couple days. And I was telling someone as I walked in the church today. So then the next day, she's laying down in Dad's office, trying to get over it, feeling better. And we go home after work. We go to stop by Kroger to get some groceries. And she's feeling better, but then I can see as we get towards the checkout, at least a little change in her face. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like the change? I'm like, this is not good. And then she goes like this, and I grab her, right? And I just run slow motion. I can't get my feet moving fast enough, right? And I go to get out of Kroger, and you know what they have? It's chained off on that aisle right there. So back up. I'm going back to my high school days. I got moves. I back up, right? I'm going around. That lane's filled. We got to go around. And I go around. Another one's filled. I pivot. I do a pivot, and I come around, and there it comes. She throws up on my face, in my glasses, down my, And a few more times before we exit Kroger. And guess who had a stomachache the next day? You know what I mean? But truthfully, definitely give the empathy to her. But I was feeling sorry for myself, to be honest with you. And But do you ever get really, really sick? Anybody ever get really, really sick? And it's funny, like how much I was praying. Mine came out like groans. I mean, it's like, God, please, I can't take this. Isn't that funny how you can get reduced? I mean, the rest of the time I walk around, I think I'm Superman. But man, God can reduce me like this. Boom. Oh, God. Huh? You guys playing tough guy with me today? You want me to go over here? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? God can reduce you like this. Put you right where you... God's not just here to drive you to the dance. Now, Jesus says, love God with all your heart. I need to back up and make sure we're clear about this. This priority of God, this loving God with all your heart, has nothing to do with some kind of a needy or narcissistic God. Anybody ever date like the wrong person and they just needed you to tell them all the time? Vicky, don't raise your hand about me. Tell me you love me, tell me you tell me. God's not needy to say, this isn't for God. I don't know how else to say it. This is for you. You, to be rightly aligned person, to be a healthy, happy human being, you have to get this together. And if you don't, you're going to lose your power. You're going to become a puppet. What happened often in the Old Testament was this. If you ever read through the Bible, some of you are trying and you call me, you have all kinds of questions, and it gets repetitive. And one of the parts that gets very repetitive is when you get into Kings and Chronicles, and there's like, well, there was this king, and he did bad, and therefore things didn't go good. But then there was another king, and he did good, and things started to go a little bit better. And there's this constant cycle, and you get a little bored with the cycle. And I think sometimes that's how God gets bored with our cycle. God, could I borrow you for a little bit? Got it. Thank you. Have a seat over there. Embarrassing dad. While I go over here and do my life. Anybody? And I'll call you if I need you. Right? I'll call you if I need you. And so they go through this cycle. And there's this one young king that comes along. Because the problem is, every time they walk away from God, God keeps warning them, someone's going to come in and take you over. Someone else is going to rule you, control you. Who here likes for other people to control them? Isn't that wonderful? They're telling you what. It's the first thing that we do. If someone tries to control us, we just bristle, don't we? Don't tell me what to do. Now, if somebody controls you, but they don't tell you overtly, they manipulate you, is that any less egregious? How many would say it's probably a little worse? How many know when you see, you can't be autonomous. You can't be powerful. You can't be the person. You can't do what God wants you to do in this world if you're being controlled. And when we lose our priorities, when we walk away from God, other things control. I don't know how else to say it. Other things control us. Is that the best way to say it? We walk away from God, so other things say, no, I make my own decisions. You're fooling yourself. Remember Pinocchio? He's a puppet, right? He's got the strings. And so he thinks he's by himself, he's autonomous, until he meets Honest John. Remember Honest John? If somebody labels themselves Honest John, just put a flag up. Are you with me? I'm going to control this puppet. I'm going to control him. He's going to leave, and I'm going to control. And now, you're not in control now. Someone else is controlling you. And what happened to God's people? They were supposed to be this powerful force for good. Instead, they were being controlled. And then there's this young boy that becomes king, Josiah. Can I read you just a little slice? Josiah becomes king when he's 8 years old. He's an 8-year-old king. This story is so rich, but first thing that pops out in my head is, sometimes the adults don't get it. I mean, the kids get it. You don't have to wrestle and cajole and get all kinds of books on the proof of the identity of God. And you just tell them about God, and they go, well, duh, Dad. Is there any? You don't have to go to 4 years of seminary, prove all these theories. Just, of course. The 8-year-olds, they get it. So there's something rich in this text here because Josiah decides he's going to turn people back to God. He's going to rebuild the temple. They're going to get back to worship. We're going to get back to loving God first. Instead of, as we talked about last week, getting around to it. How many know you either prioritize stuff or you get around to it? You put it on the calendar, it's going to happen, this is what we're going to do, or you get around to it. And this was, nope. This young boy's like, we're going to rebuild the temple. When they're rebuilding the temple, the construction workers bump into something. By the way, over the years, we've torn down so many walls and rebuilt things in this tired old building. And one time, somebody came to me and they said, we were taking down, there used to be a big cement wall right here, cinder block wall halfway in the middle of this. And somebody comes in my office with a Werner's bottle from the 70s. I still got it. Now, somebody set down their Werner's bottle, I guess, when they were building something, or maybe this is a very sacred time capsule I was not aware of, but somehow it got left. Somewhere along the way, God's law, as sacred as that was, got stuffed in a wall somewhere, got plastered over, got like an old Werner's bottle. And they completely lost the law. Look what we found in the wall. They bring it over and they have it read. And when they have it read, Josiah's now, he's 18. I think it's 18 if I'm reading it correctly. And he starts tearing his clothes. He's immediately, it's symbolic of, oh no. They're reading it to him. And he's just like, we're missing it. We're doing it wrong. We're not doing it God's way. And he makes a promise and a vow to everybody that we're going to go back to this. We're going to put this back at the top. Following God's going to be first. If you do the love God, oh, yeah, check, I do. You just check it off and you don't investigate whether that's really true in your life. You too easily fool yourself. People, now the hip thing, the modern thing is, well, I can love God and I don't need church, or I can love God and I don't need, how many have heard this ad nauseum? And on the first part, I even give people, I say, oh, I understand that. And I could say to some degree, I agree. However, this is so important, don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. I can get in shape without going to the gym. Of course. Of course. You can. Now, there's statistic after statistic that if you go to the gym or you get a workout partner or you go to accountability or a running partner, it doesn't have to be a physical gym, but you do it with somebody else, there is dominating data that says you will do way better. Why? You can't trust yourself. That's just the truth. You get down there, you do like 2 push-ups, and you're like, that's it. Give me a cupcake. Right? And you got a buddy with you, and he's like, dude, you can't have a cupcake after 2 push-ups. You can't have one. Like, just 1 cupcake. But if you're by yourself, what do? Like, I'm going to get back to the push-ups, but I need a cupcake. So you could say, oh, I don't need... What happens when they said put God first, then in the commandments, there's all these other details to protect that structure. Honor his name, keep the Sabbath. What are those things designed to do? Ruin your life? No, they're designed to protect the sacred structure that God's at the top. Do you remember the story when King Saul gets jealous of David and he goes around, he's chasing David, tries to kill him. Jonathan, his son, tells David, you better run, man. You better run for your life. And so David spends a lot of years running from King Saul. And there comes a point where David is in a cave hiding from King Saul. King Saul comes into the cave to use the facilities. Talk about great movies, huh? You know the movies where they don't breathe and he's right there? And it says David cuts off a piece of his robe. And Saul leaves. Now, if it was you and me, and this guy's been trying to kill us for no reason, and all I've been doing is just praying for this guy and trying to help him, and God finally delivers him into my hands, and I happen to have a knife. Oh, still playing religious, okay? So you thank you, God, for delivering my enemies into my... David is convicted. This is what he says. He says, listen to this. You touch not the Lord's anointed. David so revered and respected the structure of God here, and he just believed that God put everything in. He's like, it's not my place. Do you understand what people today, man, they take a swipe at everything. Don't touch. You don't touch God's stuff. As flawed and as twisted as Saul had become, David wouldn't touch him. What do you think about the priorities for your life? If God is at the top, and you get a young child that can lead the way back to sanity because they don't have all these other, I don't know what to call them, like adult problems. I was listening to, I'll give you a free one, YouTube, Jordan Peterson with Susan Blackwell. I think it's Blackwell. So just on your own time. In fact, I'll do you a favor. You can fast forward like the first 20 minutes. It's 47 minutes long. And the two of them are debating or discussing the idea of, do we need God in our society to be productive or happy people? And she's an atheist convinced that, no, we don't need God. And he's trying to say, wait a minute. And it gets to a point in the conversation, and this is where the adult stuff is. We're stumbling on ourselves, and we're creating this society that is throwing God out. And she says in there, of course, life is pointless. And I went, She said it out loud. Of course, I accept that life is pointless. What's next after that? I mean, you don't swerve for ducks in the road if life's pointless. Why would you swerve? Their life has no point. Who here swerves? Please. Children? I mean, come on, people. I mean, we sense, we just know. You know. You don't think about it, you do it. There's some point to that duck's life. I don't know what it is, but there is a point to it. There's a point to this child's life. Why would you break for a child? I know this is going to sound gross, but I can't help but push the absurdity to its full extreme. Life is pointless. Why would you break for a child crossing the road? Their life has no point. But don't you see that's kind of what we're dancing towards in our society? She says, well, life has no point. And then she tries to salvage her thing by saying, but I try to wake up every day with gratitude. He's like, gratitude to who? To what? Then she throws this cop-out phrase in, the universe. So you just take God's name and change it to the universe? Because you know, deep down, see, and it ends up with the same that I've been saying for a long time. You're not an atheist, you're a wannabe. You know you have to be grateful to the universe. You know deep down, deep down here, you know God is. So atheists cop out. We got to put God to the highest place. And you have to protect the structure that is there. All this other stuff, it's not randomly in the Ten Commandments, like the Sabbath day and the Lord's name and no idols. It's all there to protect this sacred thing. Because we know how we can be. And we could say, well, I love God, but I got things to do. But if your life gets rightly aligned, then you can, as God did with the nation of Israel, and he kept renewing them over and over and over again. When they would turn back to him, God would restore them. But when they would turn away, they would increasingly become a puppet. And you know what I see our society doing? I see we're like puppets. I just watch people. You're like, I'm like, someone else is playing you. And you can't even see it. Someone else is telling you what to think and to believe and to say and what to do. You're losing your own autonomy, which is exactly what happened. If you read these stories in the Old Testament, they're there for a reason. They're there as an example for us. And now they've lost. So to be powerful in your life, you have to have the right priority. And by definition, there's no higher priority than God. And if you still want to travel down that road and think that there isn't, or if you want to say that there is but live like there isn't, there's almost no difference. But if you do, you have to make some adjustments. If you do, like let's say you decide to start going back to the gym or something like that, find your own example. But the first day you go back to the gym, your body doesn't just love you. Thank you so much. What does your body do? It screams at you. What are we doing here? What's your problem? Anybody, your body, you scream at you when you try to do something? What are you doing? What did I do to deserve this? You remember when Moses goes to take the people of Israel out of Egypt? What does Pharaoh do? Oh, can I show you the way? No, Pharaoh screams back. There's always going to be pushback. When you try to get your priorities lined up, there's always going to be pushback. Pharaoh's going to fight you every step of the way. So you have to have a transcendent priority. And there are others that transcend. But God is definitely at the pinnacle. He says, then love your neighbor. We know like to prioritize our families. We know to prioritize. So we can go down the list. But let me, as we get ready to close, let me tell you one other thing about priorities that I think is important. Once you have God as a transcendent priority, then you have wisdom for the rest of your life. And for the rest of your life, your priorities will adjust and shift and change depending on the season of life that you're in. Have you found this to be true? You're going along in life, and all of a sudden you find yourself having a child. And you go, wonder what the priorities of my life are. I mean, it's not hard because they dominate you for 24 hours of the day. And it's kind of like, this is the what? It's a season. It's the priority. Ecclesiastes talks about the wisdom of knowing the seasons of life. And it says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. So wise people, what they do is they realize, I have God at the pinnacle, and then I realize I'm going to go through seasons of my life where some things are going to rise in priority, and I'm going to have to demote other things. That's one of the problems with some of these seminars that you go to. They don't help you with the nuance of life. You go to make these priority lists, and yes, some of them are permanent, like God at the top, but some of them are like, well, this, for right now, I need to prioritize this. Ecclesiastes. Chapter 3, it says there's a season for everything. And then there's a time to be born, there's a time to die, right? It goes on, it talks about there is a time to keep and a time to throw away. How many know like that transition alone gives a lot of people in America heart attacks? You know, you drive around, have you ever seen these storage bins that people put their stuff in? I know, you talk about the Starbucks guilt, wait till today. Now I'm going to talk about your storage bin. It's been sitting there for 20 years. Time to keep and a time to what? You can even give it to the Salvation Army and have a little good feeling, a little bubbly feeling for a few minutes. Yeah, but that was, keyword is was. Are you with me? Keyword is was, that was. So it's like, this is like a little nugget of wisdom, but I mean, this goes down layers deep because this is not just about stuff. Like again, people got stuck on the Starbucks. It wasn't about that, it's about a layer deeper. It's like people get stuck in the wrong season of their life. Life keeps changing, and if you get stuck in the wrong season, you're stuck back here. Life has moved on. Life has changed. It's okay that stuff meant a lot at that stage of your life. It's time for the dumpster, baby. It's okay. But I worked so hard. I know you did. Give it a nice burial. Give it a new home. Move on. There's a time to store. There's a time to throw away. But there was a time when you needed it. And absolutely, that was an important stage of your life. Then your kids come, and then your kids go. And then all of a sudden, you're going through a stage. Who remembers the broke stage? Remember the broke stage? I mean, there's one thing to do at the broke stage. Get money. Get money so you can eat and you can put a roof over your head. And so, who remembers working more than the 40 American hours a week? It's like, dear God, please, if I only had to work 40. It's like, this is what I have to do. This is the priority, right? What? So what wise people do. And then they realize that they get in a different season of their life, and maybe I shouldn't be working 80 hours a week. Because maybe I need to do this. I need to be here. What's wisdom? Wisdom is like, the season has changed. You know what? A lot of people, the bigger problems that they get in their life, really, oddly, comes down to this really simple idea. They're living in the wrong season of their life. Some people that are having problems in their marriage, like you're living like you're 24 and you're 44. That season's over, bro. No one cares about your dance moves. They don't care. That's over. But I mean, they can't let go of it, you know. And that's fine when you're 14. It's maybe okay when you're 20. But when you're 46, man, we don't care. This season's over. But they can't move on, and they can't. Or some people they prioritize their kids as of course they become a high priority. But then when their kids leave, can I tell you, one of the smartest things that you can do is to figure out what season of life you're in and what's important right now. And learn to let go of the season that it's not. And that's the biggest thing that people have a hard time with. It's like, I can't let go, you know, of like Johnny is a 16-year-old. Like, well, he's 26. You know? And it's not good for you, and it's not good for Johnny. It's a new season. And the wisdom of Ecclesiastes goes through and talks about there's a time to tear and a time to mend. You're going to be in a season of your life. Listen, there's some relationships that you're like, I mean, do it as nicely as you can. Okay, are you with me? Just put them over here. They're not helping your life. You know, don't listen to all the one-sided verses about you. Yeah, okay, you love them from a distance. Just put them right over here. They're not helping your life. Time to tear. Time to mend. But the point is, this goes through a whole chapter of opposites, and you think one is correct or the other is correct. No, one is correct in the right time, and the opposite is correct in another time. That's called wisdom. So what wisdom does is it tells us, as I go through life, I know how to change to the priorities that are at hand. I know how to adjust. If you're going golfing and you get on the green and you see a guy with a driver, you know he's new. Put that club away, that's for the next one. Are you with me? It's not appropriate for what you're trying to, just a little tap situation here. And as you go through life, you learn how to put one club down and to select a different one for the situation that God's put you in here. And the problem is, what happens to a lot of us is we just get stuck. And we get used to, or we like, or it's hard to change, and so we get stuck doing this mode, and we refuse to adapt to how life has moved on. Ecclesiastes says, God makes everything beautiful in its time. So here's the key. Ready? Learn to celebrate and embrace whatever season of life that you are in right now. Can I say it again? Learn to celebrate, embrace whatever season of life that you are in right now. Adjust. This is real. Who here, like me, is not as young as you used to be? And you start making some adjustments. Huh? My friend Gary down here was telling me the other day, he's like, you know, I used to just drop something, I grabbed it. He's climbed mountains all over the world and everything, and he's a mountaineer, and he goes, now, like if something falls on the floor, I go, do I really need that? You just adjust. Are you with me? You get, and as life goes on, what can become so beautiful. Look, what can be so beautiful is that the season that you're in right now can be so beautiful if you'll embrace it. And you'll decide that I am, in this moment right here, blessed, and I'm going to pick the right priorities for this particular moment. It takes wisdom, and that's what God's going to give you. Scripture says, if anyone lacks wisdom, ask God, and he will give it to you liberally. And when I think about it, I think, maybe that's what's missing so much in our culture. It's not information, but wisdom. Huh? ChatGPT can't dispense wisdom, friends. I'll close with this because, the other day, yesterday, Charlie has hockey practice or whatever, so Vicky's like, I think it's on, but I can't remember. I thought maybe it was off. And she goes, I'll ChatGPT it. I kind of thought to myself, okay, ChatGPT, does Charlie have hockey such and such place today? Da, da, da. Yes, and she goes, and it went into all kinds of detail. Not only yes, but told you why it was yes, and on and on and on. Thank God I stayed home. I drove in there. The parking lot's completely what? I said, send that picture to ChatGPT. No, can't get the nuance. Oh, it's a holiday weekend. Oh, they're getting better. Give me a break. Listen. Wisdom. Oh, it's a holiday weekend. Wisdom. Oh, this has happened. Oh, this person's sick. Oh, we have a child. Oh, we need money. Oh, what's going on right here? Wisdom. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is just stay there for a hurting person in your family. That's the wisest thing you can do. You take all the other goals that you wrote at some seminar and tear them up and throw them in the trash because your wife got sick. Or do you hold on to your goals? Wisdom. It says God put you here for such a time as this. This is the priority now. Let's stand. We'll have a closing prayer.